So before getting into this review, I just want to say that everybody is going to look at a game a different way. Every experience is different. If I feel one way and you feel another way, neither of us is wrong, and sharing our feelings is not a way to devalue each other's experiences. We're just different, and that's what's beautiful about people, you know? It's what makes the free exchange of ideas and opinions on the internet a truly wonderful thing. That said, I absolutely hate this game! but let's talk about it like.
Arlo, it is perfectly fine not to like Zero or any other type of media for that matter. However, it's the criticisms that we use to critique something that makes our critique good or bad. And just because it's an opinion doesn't immediately give us a get out of jail free card. And so I'm going to explain the three types of criticisms I believe exist. Purely opinionated ones are based on whatever or not is good or bad. It's like two people arguing over the color blue being bad. Because I think the color blue is bad, because I say so, would not be a valid criticism, because it is just way too subjective. A debatable or subjective criticism means something that can be countered with an explanation and can be debated. Like, the pacing in Transformers 1 is too fast in the middle, leaving Megatron's portrayal feeling rushed. But I could counter it with a counter argument, like in the movie, the pacing worked because that's what the plot was. There wasn't much time, and if we gave more time to Orion Pax and Megatron, it would have led to Megatron. It would have led to Orion Pax agreeing with Megatron and going in a completely different direction. And 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 that's basically what it is. It's a debate, and could have been, and basically that's what it is. Which, and plus, no one's really right or wrong, but it's still a bit more of a subjective debate. And then finally, the most important one, in my opinion, facts slash objective opinions, or, well, arguments. Something that where there is no debate around the criticism being right or wrong. For example, it would be like saying Shen from Kung Fu Panda never be Poe, and if someone claimed this, then this person would be objectively wrong because Shen did be Poe with his canon in the film. But there can be an objective flaw. Let's say this movie does not have a plot structure, and then the plot structure is all over the place, and and then that would be bad because then that would go against an objective part of filmmaking. Do you see the point I'm trying to make here? Oh, and here's another thing I might show you. Arlo, here's a sheet of you only have one opinionated critique throughout this whole video, making it 2.8% of your criticisms of this is opinionated. If your video was mostly opinionated by a fact, then I wouldn't have responded to this in the first place. And the main reason why I responded to you is that you were flat out wrong about it, which you probably read from the title. 20 of your criticisms are inaccuracies slash lies, meaning that 57.1% of your criticisms are wrong mathematically. Let me explain it for a sec. Like, do you realize how absolutely insane that is? More than half of your video is wrong mathematically. Like, bro, how do you screw up that badly? But I think I have a theory for what Arlo was thinking. A, he didn't play the game properly and didn't take his time and rushed through it just to get it over and rush out this review. B, the worst case scenario, he lied directly to his audience, knowing that this was in it, into making them believe that these were right, and I don't think it was B, but mainly he could have read, but even if it wasn't intentional, unintentionally lying to your audience still isn't good, and it could make you look unprofessional.
Fox. Fox McCloud. 5 years ago.
Use your motion control! Use your motion control! Use your motion control!
The first thing you're gonna ask is if I dislike the game because of the controls, and the answer might just surprise you, because oh wait, no it won't, because yes, I hate the controls! And no, not just because they're motion controls. I was first in line to make Link swing a sword by swinging a controller. I feel like Metroid Prime was made for pointer controls, and gyro aiming is the only way to play Splatoon. But motion controls just do not work here, mostly because of the need to split your attention between two screens. Being able to fly in one direction and shoot in another is good in theory, but this is a miserable failure of the concept. At no point did I feel empowered by this control scheme. It was only a hindrance. It was a constant battle to do what I was supposed to do.
Arlo, you can use the minus button to switch the screen. Like, seriously, it's right there. There's literally just a minus button to switch the screen. And plus, I never got this criticism at all, because, like, you barely even have to use the separate screen. Like, here's gameplay of me just, like, storming through it without any issue. And, like, see? See? Like, it's perfectly fine.
See, this game pretends like it's a Star Fox game, but it's really not. You wanna know why? Because Star Fox and Star Fox 64 were intuitive and fun. This is a shadow of those games. It looks like them, but the stuff I'm actually doing with my controller is worlds apart. Look at this. This is Star Fox 64. I see stuff to shoot, I aim at it, I shoot. It's great. But this! If you want to just play like this is a normal Star Fox, you're out of luck.
Arlo, it's perfectly fine to not get a hang of the controls, but this would be an opinion. This is like saying I don't like Super Smash Bros. Because it's different from Street Fighter, where it's fine if you think that, but it would not be a valid criticism, as I've explained before. Because you're still not giving the game a fair chance. You have to judge it for what it's objectively trying to be, not for what it isn't. In the Star Fox 64 remake on the 3DS, it did have motion controls to Star Fox Zero. This is nothing new for the franchise. But it is entirely new to dedicate these controls all around the Wii U. And them being somewhat different, if Zero had the same controls as 64 and Star Fox 1, they would have to change the game up so much to the point where it wouldn't even be the same game anymore. The first problem is the enemy patterns. The enemy patterns are designed for you to hit them with your motion controls, and if you don't use the motion controls, then you will have to run straight into the enemies, and for example, in all ranged mode. When you're shooting down a ground enemy, you will be forced to charge head first, and then you'll often get shot and it'll be hard to avoid, since if you want to barrel out of the way, meaning that you would have to then you would have to go in for another bombing run. And if you want to get the maximum HP points, maximum hit points, it would just be straight up impossible, because you need the motion controls to aim in the direction you want to shoot in. Even when fighting the Star Wolf battles, the only way to aim is to shoot them is when the player is both shooting at them. But when there was a wolf, but even then, when Wolf lands a shot, the player is forced off. So the player, and so you have to roll out of your way, but you don't get a shot off. And if you do a trade-off shot, but when you do, there's a chance that it might not even be a trade-off of your health. And even if it's not even a fair, and it might not even be a fair trade at all, so you're just throwing inconsistent standards for an unfun gameplay loop that would just not be fun. And you have to fight Star Wolf at some point in the game, and you would need the motion controls to beat them, and they are not a problem. And if you think having motion controls in general is the problem, then no. It would just lead to the game being worse than what people claim it is. Zero still relatively understands the core of the Star Fox franchise. It just does it in its own unique way that makes it stand out from other Star Fox games. It's linear, fast-paced, alternate paths, dogfights. It's still an arcade shooter at the end of the day. And I already explained how Zero would be bad if it was just 64 again. Yeah, sure. The way you shoot is wildly different in 64. However, in going and expecting a certain thing is bad because that thing you expect isn't what you expect and will lead to you feeling portrayed. Which I could understand if they never showed this. However, throughout Zero's marketing, they always emphasize the motion controls in the gameplay. So saying it's bad because you expected it to be 64 is straight up not a valid criticism and should not be brought up. Is it fair to compare these two, since they're still wildly different games, but still pretty similar.
Ultimately where your bullets will go, but not where they'll land. Try to aim like this, and you won't hit a thing. The bottom screen reticle is accurate, but guess what? Now you can't see where you're going. Watch the top screen and you can navigate, but you can't shoot anything. Watch the bottom screen and you can shoot stuff, but you won't know what's going on around you, and you'll smash into everything. You are literally always at a disadvantage because you can only watch one screen at a time. You can't get caught up in one thing or another, so you've got to keep switching awkwardly and get nothing done.
Arlo, why aren't you using the charge shot? It deals way more damage to enemies, it has a bigger range of effect, it auto-aims. And in this situation in Sector Alpha, you're better off using the charge shot. And plus, it's just way more reliable than the normal blaster fire. The blaster fires are more consistent with bigger targets, so it's better to use them when attacking bosses or bigger stuff like ground troops. When charge shots are better for dealing with swarms of enemies. This is like and you can drive in the cockpit view and shoot things down. Here's evidence. And you can see the minus button to switch to screens if you looked at me. But again, you see, the thing is that in third-person games, sometimes when you're shooting at something, it's just going to be, it might be a bit inaccurate, it might be a bit off at times. So that's just something that's common in third-person games. So saying it's bad because most games have this isn't necessarily making it a bad thing.
This is not fun. This is not intuitive. This is purely a nuisance. Now, there are plenty of people out there who picked up the controls after a while, and they do great in the game, and it's all great, and, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. I'm extremely happy that they were able to enjoy the game. But I am just not one of those people. The controls seep into the level design as well. Remember 64's bosses? Those epic, awesome mechanical monstrosities where you had to avoid their attacks and shoot their glowy spots and watch them explode bit by bit, and it was awesome? Well, all of Zero's bosses are in free-range mode, and with the new controls, it becomes a long, agonizing ordeal of wait for the boss to show its glowy spot, awkwardly pop off a couple shots before having to swerve away, and then fly around and wait for it to show its glowy spots again, and repeat ad nauseum. None of them are fun or exciting. They're boring and aggravating.
Okay, let's see if all the bosses are like that. The first boss, the Androsa, is it like that? And how Arlo described it? No, you can shoot it whenever you want in the blasters, causing it to fall, and there's never a segment where you can't hit it at all. The Aquarosa boss fight that you get later on, nope, you can nope, you can hit it where it uses its electric shockwave, but once again, you can do a bombing run, shoot it down, and before you say that's how I described it, no, you have to go to the boss and you have to wait for it, and it will ruin, and you have to run for your life and then go back, and then plow the boss to pieces. So no. The power generator in Sector A, now, you can do whatever you want to it. There is no invulnerability at any point during the boss fight. the subterranean weapon scrapworm on Terrania. The only time it is invulnerable when this is the only last seconds for the 4 seconds, and after it begins to shoot out all the enemies, and after the transformation you can still shoot it and take it out of the stage as long as you take it out of there. It won't rise and repeat. Ancient Mechanical Raptor, a clone in the Great Fox level. Nope, you can shoot it whenever you want, as long as you're close and have a couple times where you cannot hit it. The only boss that is like this is the Interplanetary Command Attack Ship Carrier. Which is the one he shows, but saying it's all of them is just inaccurate. The Gigarilla, nope, you can shoot it whenever you want. You just have to be behind the Gigarilla. Andros, nope. Once you get thrown outside into dimensions, you just have to find it, where you weren't just supposed to wait around. And all of the Star Wolf fights are like this. Arlo, you liar! Only one of the boss fights in the entire game is like this. This is completely unacceptable. You basically told your audience a major lie that wasn't even true, and you only showed it for one boss fight that was like this. Literally, jeez. Like, what the hell is this? A Mauler video? Also, another thing, the Spider Legs boss fight isn't like this, and you can also apply it to a ton of boss fights throughout tons of fiction, so I don't get this as well. And plus, you can apply this to 64, where the Zonus boss battle retreats multiple times.
And in parts when you're locked onto the enemy, your ship gets so tiny and goes so far to the edge of the screen that I constantly found myself losing track of it whenever I looked up at the TV.
Then lock off, Arlo. There is no point in you to be locking on for longer. You just have to lock off. What are you doing?
TV. Then you've got the new vehicle sections, which are, oh wow, look at that, boring and aggravating. I cannot fathom how controls can be this bad, or why anyone thought these slow, hack-the-computer proby sections belonged in a Star Fox game. Sending down a little robot and going into holes just to hit switches is clearly an idea meant to justify the use of the gamepad and absolutely nothing else. This isn't fun, this isn't anything. It's an arbitrary hurdle that accomplishes nothing. And oh my gosh, those controls.
You know what, Arlo? You're right. The gyroing is out of place. It doesn't feel like it belongs in this game. Since Star Fox was a pretty fast-paced game, so for you to randomly slow down midway through to do these spy ops missions feels completely out of place. I completely agree with you here. However, there's that point isn't the issue. The issue I have with it is that you're now speculating that it was just there to justify about the Arwing and anything else or any of the other vehicles. And Miyamoto said he liked the idea, and so he added it into the game. It's as simple as that. It's not some big grandiose conspiracy.
Okay, so it'd probably be best to just stop right here, and people are gonna call me nitpicky and entitled and all that jazz, but you know what? This is my review, and I've gone too far to stop now. Take away the precisely two things that this game added to the series, the controls and the new vehicles, and what you're left with is a lesser version of Star Fox 64. The game acts like an homage or a reimagining, and at first I thought it was cool that they got back all the old voice actors and all that, but they took things too far. Nintendo's good at playing to our nostalgia, but this has gone so far in that direction that it's basically a copy. Their throwback was thrown so far back that it's literally just doing the same thing again. Like I said, there were only two new concepts, which were both awful, and the rest is a shameless retreading that is just not as good, despite how much time they've had to think about the series.
Okay, firstly, I have two problems here. Zero does do a lot for the franchise, and taking away the controls would be a major thing And plus, I already explained why taking away Zero's unique controls would be a horrible idea. But let's touch some things I didn't bring up before. Since, again, some of the bosses and mission structures designed around the controls as well, so you have to consider that while you're playing these videos. So you can't do it. Like, for example, Assassin's Creed Black Flag is still an Assassin's Creed game. None of them before had any naval combat besides free, but it's still an Assassin's Creed game. And again, the naval combat gives it more of its own identity and makes it stand out from the other games. And taking it away would just be a huge detriment to Black Flag. And Black Flag's ship combat isn't entirely integral towards its identity and its gameplay loop. If you just remove that, it would be a completely different game. And there's tons of examples. Plus Zero has new enemies, completely new and original levels, with even the ones being on the same planet, like Corneria, still being unique and memorable. The boss fights are completely original, the dual screen, the new planet areas, the fact that every time you replay it, you always have a different experience on different levels, the metal system, arcade mode, music mode, where you can listen to all the music, homing shots, co-op, training, and even goofing around with the Star Fox crew is fun. So, yeah, there is stuff to do.
This is the most startlingly unambitious Nintendo game I've ever played. There are so many other things they could have done to further the series, and they made no effort whatsoever.
Okay, no, Arlo, don't be a dick to the developers and everyone who worked on this game. Saying that there's absolutely no effort in this game and saying that the developers are lazy and to do nothing to improve this franchise. Video game developers work for tons of hours on a day, and it can be extremely stressful when making games. So regardless of the game's quality, people did put effort into this game for a fact. You should not be a dick to those people for how hard they've worked on it. And Miyamoto has said in the past how passionate he is about this game, where he got the idea from his childhood. So no, you can't just hate on the game whenever you want, as long as the problems are good and well thought out, but please don't be a dick to the developers. Just say this game is a horrible copy. You would be wrong and a complete liar, but at least you're not a complete asshole.
64 was already a reimagining of the original, and this is just 64 again! That means that all three traditional Star Fox games have had the same story. Why? It's a world of animals and spaceships. How hard is it to come up with a new villain, at least? This is so lazy, I can't even handle it. Here's the thing. Even if the new vehicle stuff worked and the level design was better, somersault, shoot the guy in front of you till he runs away, somersault, shoot the guy in front of you till he runs away.
Okay, let's explain this common criticism of Zero. Miyamoto didn't make a new story because Miyamoto wanted to appeal towards a general audience. So if he made a sequel to Command, the general audience really wouldn't understand what's going on. It would be too risky from a marketing point of view. And so they made a new story to introduce people to the Star Fox franchise. And I'll give you this one. You are one of the few Star Fox Zero detractors that acknowledges 64 had the same story as Star Fox 1. So, when most of them always hate on Zero, but then glaze up 64. At least you're one of them who can acknowledge that. And tons of other Nintendo IPs have had the same stories before, like Mario, about being always trying to save a princess. And like at least from some kind of thing.
Somersault. Even if this was a marked improvement over 64, this would be the game we should have gotten on the GameCube. This would be the game we were begging for 15 years ago. This is 2016. 3 generations after 64. I expect more. I expect the series to be a lot far...
You serious?
This is just... What is this? Why am I playing this on my 8th gen HD Nintendo system? Why is one of Nintendo's most beloved franchises treated like it's just nothing? And why does Nintendo seem incapable of hitting anywhere between so new it's not even the same thing and the same enough that it's still the series we fell in love with? Because this game seems to be a baffling mix of both extremes, of what the heck, this isn't even Star Fox, and what the heck, this is the exact same Star Fox. I know it seems a little extreme, but if I'm being entirely honest, I did not even have 1 second of fun with this game. Literally, none of it was enjoyable. It was a chore from start to finish and even beyond. And did I mention there's no battle mode? Because yeah, there isn't even a battle mode. Yep. 2016.
There is a co-op. It's not the same as a normal multiplayer, but it is there. Hey, I just want to bring something up. I'll touch this in way more detail in a different response, but it's perfectly fine to make a negative review of something. Heck, I don't like other pieces of media. I'm not trying to say you're wrong for disliking stuff, but you have to back it up what you're saying with feats and evidence from what you're reviewing before making the video to make sure it's not filled with any lies or any misinterpretations. And here's the sheet from Arlo's video. It's not bad, too bad in all the areas, are except for the lies are insanely high. Like, holy crap. But Arlo, as a fan of your content, this video is such a low for you. You made me feel like it was a Mauler video. And when I was comparing you to Mauler, that's not a good look. It genuinely sucks that whenever any type of show, game, or movie gets false information, I will touch that in a different response. But Arlo, do better, man. This video was just disappointing. It was bad. It was stupid. It was wrong, and not hypocritical. But I just want to. And if you're doing a reaction, or if you even do make a full-on response, which isn't likely, it really because. And say, oh, I didn't mean to lie to my audience. I didn't know that. Oh no, oh no. Because it really doesn't matter. Regardless of whether or not you're making a reaction of what you're doing, it's just you're essentially giving Zero a false legacy by indirectly telling your audience misinformation. So Arlo, could you please take down the video or put a disclaimer that this video is outdated and wrong if the video stays up? Because people will continue to lie about the game even if you disagree. With some of the points, you can't deny that Arlo was wrong about Zero. And plus, here's the thing. Video games aren't like movies. People can go to hate watch movies if they hear it's bad, but for a video game, people are going to hear it differently and they're going to have to trust the reviewers. So the reviewers have a lot of influence on whether or not a film does well or not and what its legacy is. And it just sucks Zero had to go down such a shitty route.